The Standing Committee on Public Accounts, or Scopa, has raised concerns about expansion and deviation of some of Transnet's contracts that appear to be constantly extended, so-called evergreen contracts. Scopa is also concerned about the nature of the relationship between Transnet and the National Treasury in relation to the approval of the expansion and deviation of contracts. Scopa has agreed with the National Treasury that they will be briefed on a quarterly basis on expansions and deviations. This will allow Scopa to monitor Transnet's contracts closely. Scopa has also informed Transnet that the latter is liable for the costs, which amount to fruitless and wasteful expenditure that were incurred by members of Scopa when they travelled to Cape Town for the hearing that was not honoured by Transnet on the 6th of December 2017. We are now joined by the Chair of Scopa, Themba Godi. Thank you so very, very much for joining us here on the programme.
Thank you.
So let us have a look at this. We speak to you often about the message and how it can be lost in translation. Can we remind viewers of the mandate of Scopa?
Well, Leanne, let me start by passing our condolences to the family of the late great jazz musician Brayu Masekela. Look, the Standing Committee on Public Accounts is the protector of the public purse. It is the committee that monitors the expenditure of public money by all government departments and all state entities, where we use the Public Finance Management Act as a guide or as our Bible, as well as the regulations that are issued by National Treasury. So every time you see a department or an entity called to appear before Scopa, it is because we see transgressions of the Act, we see the usage of money without following proper processes, we see fruitless and wasteful expenditure, we see the thieving, fraud, bribery using public funds.
Right now, obviously, yesterday's continuation of Parliament's inquiry into state capture, particular focus obviously on Eskom. What did you make of the deliberations there, and were there any revelations that could be used by Scopa?
Well, look, the Eskom process, we have deliberately stayed away from engaging Eskom to allow our comrades in the Portfolio Committee to go on with their work. We will only interact with the outcome of that process if in their recommendations there are things referred to Scopa. Just like the SABC ad hoc committee, you'll recall that in some of their recommendations they had referred certain things to Scopa and were able to follow them up. At this stage, we would want the process to unfold within that particular committee without too many cooks spoiling the broth.
Yeah. Let's turn our attention now, obviously, to Transnet, because we saw a statement being released by you raising concern about the so-called evergreen contracts at Transnet, with specific a contract saying they just always seem to go on, they never seem to end. Which ones are you concerned about, and do these fit into the state capture conversation?
Well, look, there are a number of companies, and here we're talking big monies. And as I said yesterday, if state capture means Guptas, well, I don't think there was any. But if state capture means the influence by certain individuals or certain cabals over state institutions to do things outside the law to benefit themselves or to the detriment of the people, yes, you can say that there are companies whose contracts just seem to go on and on. There is a case of a Bidvest subsidiary, Protecoin, whose contract was extended 13 times. It is the longest one has ever seen. And if you look at Bidvest, you realize that Bidvest actually has a firm grip on a lot of public entities, whether you're talking SAA, whether you're talking AXA, whether you're talking Transnet or any other, they are there. You find that some are local companies, some are international companies. And here we're talking hundreds of millions, we're talking billions of rands that just keep on being extended or deviations are asked so that they don't go on open tender in a manner that when you look at all the reasons that have been given, you realize that they're frivolous, to say the least.
Yeah. I like what you said a little bit earlier, where you were saying that state capture, if that means the Guptas, because I think there's this impression that the state capture is only the Gupta family. But what you're saying now is it's not. It actually extends further than that. And there are contracts such as what you're talking about. I mean, one that I'm reading about, the Hawks Brigadier saying that 3 bids were inflated. One tender bid was increased over 500% from 12 million to 74 million. This was for a case that was 96% finished. They're almost about to storm in there. So this state capture investigation is much bigger than just one family, isn't it?
I think there is an attempt by other crooks, by other thieves, to say state capture means the Gupta, so that we can all focus on one family whilst they continue to loot the state. That is why, in my political cap, I have said the commission that has been set up give us an opportunity to clean house. Let's not just clean one corner. Let's clean the whole house. Let us check and say, does this phenomenon manifest itself in other instances? Look at Eskom. The Guptas only supply 10%. Who is responsible for the 90%? I think about 70% of the Eskom coal suppliers are evergreen contracts. What we call cost-plus mines, where the state actually inject capital for capital expenditure, and then the companies just get a well-prepared mine. But those things have never been probed. But at Scopa, we deal with every aspect of corruption, irrespective of who it affects. Yeah.
Just finally, Mr. Godi, we talk about these investigations. Now we are seeing Eskom under the spotlight, and that is, I mean, there were a lot of revelations that came out yesterday. Yeah. But if we can wrap this up, obviously Transnet will be going through a very similar process, I can imagine, and these investigations will be fast sped up. But from what you've heard yesterday, what, if anything, was clearly discovered during these hearings yesterday?
Look, the simple and consistent thing is that there are poor governance systems within SOEs. And SOEs have been used as the cash cows for the corrupt. And what you also realize, Leanne, which many people don't realize, is that most state-owned entities are operating on the basis of the pre-94 culture, which was very corrupt. People have actually found it comfortable to use those kind of practices because they enabled corruption. And what we have often heard, it's about some small players, whereas if you go into all the SOEs and dig deeper, you'll find that it is the big companies that have actually been the major beneficiaries of the weak governance processes within SOEs.
All right, we leave it there. Thank you for your time. We really do appreciate it. Themba Godi talking to us now. He, of course, is the Chair of Scopa, the Standing Committee on Public Accounts in Parliament. We take a break, and after this, we're talking to our Minister of Arts and Culture in South Africa about the memory of Hugh Masekela. Do stay tuned for that.